Hello everyone and welcome. We are going to discuss the month of Tevet now. Tevet is a month where we can focus in on healing our anger. So Kislev is one of the darkest months of the year, and so is Tevet. They usually fall in the winter. And what happens when a tree dies? So the roots are stuck in the ground, and if there is enough there, the death part of the tree will actually rebirth itself and grow roots and then come up through. And, we always have this idea of, burying the dead and new life comes. So the winter is kind of our chance to rejuvenate and come out of any negative parts. We talked a little bit about that with Kislev, and we have the lights of Chanukah, and the days are shorter. So the days are starting to become a little bit longer now. We're coming out of the darkest portions of the year, and Tevet is sort of the rebirth of positivity from the most negative of places. So this is the month that you really want to be healing your anger. I was just in New York. I got to see an amazing Broadway show, Dear Evan Hansen, and that show was so amazing on so many levels. I saw it on a very cold night in New York City. Ben Platt is amazing. Please go see it. For sure, he'll be at least nominated for a Tony, if not win it. The show is about something so simple. It is about a high school student who is struggling with social anxieties and depression, and it is told in the most beautiful ways. And to me, this show kind of represents what this Hebrew month is all about, which is kind of connecting to your deepest parts in a very simple way, your most negative feelings or thoughts, and really sort of finding the beauty of them and teaching the world, even if it's a small part of the world, your own personal circle, what can I learn from all this? It's a very Jewish concept to whatever negativity kind of comes into our life, whether it's on the outside of us that creeps in or something from even deep within us that feels negative. How can we recharge that? How can we rejuvenate that to, I keep using that really bad pun, but to make ourselves and our lives better? Because everything that happens to us, especially that's out of our control, is ultimately for the good. For the good. Another line from a Broadway show. For the better. From a little show called Wicked. Maybe you've heard of it. And I'm wearing green today. There aren't many holidays in Tevet. It's a really dark month. Kislev is a dark month, but at least we have the Hanukkah lights and we get excited about light. It's a festival of lights, even though it's a historical holiday. So we only have a couple of historical holidays in Tevet. We have the end of Hanukkah. It always ends as the beginning of the month of Tevet comes in. So we have a little bit of flickering light from Kislev and the miracles of Kislev. But we also have the fast of Tevet, which happens on Eser, or the 10th of Tevet. And I learned from my teacher, my holy teacher and mentor, David Sachs, there are two reasons to fast on the 10th of Tevet. The first one is because King Nebuchadnezzar started to destroy the walls of the Beit HaMikdash, the first Beit HaMikdash, which eventually led to the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash, the first temple in Jerusalem, and that fully finished around Tisha B'Av, which was several months later. Second reason is because the actual Torah started to be translated into Greek. For the first time, we took this very holy language that takes at least two people to study at a time and is very complicated and takes not just brain power, but also like heart power and inspiration to study. And the kings came to us and said, we want you to translate this into Greek. And so apparently there were about 70 different sages who were put into separate rooms and asked to start to translate the Torah from Hebrew into Greek. Now, the upside of it is that allowed for all people in the world to start to study the Torah, not just people who spoke Hebrew as their mother tongue. Only downside of it is that some people will study little bits of it in a different language and say, oh, if that's the Torah, I know it, and it's just nothing. The problem with that is, as I've learned in my own life, is that the Torah is so complex and complicated and difficult, and it's supposed to be kind of a struggle to study. And I myself do not have full command over the Hebrew language. I've been studying it for 16 years, and my mind is boggled just by a few of the letters because of how intricate they are and the math that's in it and the way that the words are placed together in a certain line or a certain paragraph or a certain parsha. But I have friends who have a Harvard education, and they'll say things like, I can't believe you study that. I already studied religion in college, and it's all the same, and it's all boundary creating, and it's terrible. In Tevet, we started to feel how difficult it was for the walls of our temple to be destroyed. And I just think it's so beautiful when something can remain pure in its purest state. I've been lucky enough to go to India and study different religions there, and Hong Kong and Thailand and Japan. And when you're actually sitting with a person who practices their own particular religion in the holiest, highest, most loving, compassionate way, it's so different than if you were to open up a book on Jainism or Hinduism and say, oh, I read one book on it. I know everything there is to know. And sometimes we need to put up our boundaries and we need to put up our walls in order to have a deeper connection with the thing that we are actually studying or living in. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't welcome other people to study our religions. That's a beautiful thing. But I feel, as someone who is an educator in the religious world, if I could be so bold, and who has been a student of different religions since I was about 19, and so I've been studying for many, many years, I think it should be required that if someone's going to study a particular religion, that they actually have to live in that world or in a pure state of that particular philosophy, eat the foods, sit with the people, hang out with them, experience some of the holidays before you say, oh, I know everything there is to know about it, and look at it with a critical eye. I know it's difficult, but I had this one teacher at the University of Florida named David Hackett. He was one of the best professors I ever had, and we took the sociology of religion with him. And even though we were studying different religions, he forced us to go to 5 different meeting places. So I went to a Hare Krishna temple, and I went to synagogues, of course, and I went to a black church, and just sitting in the audience of these places inspired me so much more than if I just picked up King James Bible and was like, oh, I know what church is. I mean, every church is different. Every community is different. Okay, so there's my soapbox about experiencing within the walls of a particular place how beautiful and non-judgmental and kind it could be in its purest state. I want to wish everyone a hearty, heartfelt Tevet, a chance to rejuvenate yourself and sit down and really connect to the earth. Even if it's cold outside, put your jacket on and sit on the earth and, connect to the roots, because this is the winter where the leaves are off and the fruits are off, but the roots are getting all their harvesting going. Take time to really focus on what angers you, what frustrates you, what makes you feel kind of cold inside, and try to find the beauty, find the lessons that are in it so that you can propel forward. We already had our new year back on Rosh Hashanah in 5777, which we're still in. 2017 just got here. And so we are told by at least some of my rabbis that 2017 is something to be celebrated. And even though it does not necessarily coincide with the Hebrew calendar, the Anglican calendar is something that we give a lot of energy to, both fiscally and in terms of charity and our taxes, and everyone in the world is kind of aware of 2017, and it's our medium for all of us to connect on. So we should have a healthy and happy and rejuvenating and growth propelling year. Must show you this. 6-7 years ago, I decided I was going to move from living on my own to having a roommate again, because I just felt like changing it up a little bit, and I wanted a bigger place. And so I found the most amazing apartment because of my friend Shella. What's up, Shells? And I had this beautiful corn plant for about 3 or 4 years, and it never grew a flower. In fact, I didn't even know that it could grow a flower. And the day that we unpacked our stuff in our new apartment, I believe it's because of the energy that we had together as roommates. We had so much fun. It grew a little flower, a little baby cornflower. And now it's been another 7 years since that day. And now I'm living alone again. I love my new place. But I had this crazy epiphany when I was in New York City, and I came home. I opened up the door, and during this month of Tevet, which is supposed to be when your roots kind of get redefined and negativity dies and newness comes to rebirth, even if we can't see it. Well, I got a little wink from God, a little wink of things are moving in the right direction, because look at my corn plant. Do you see that flower? Look how large it is. It's humongous. Let me show you the whole plant just so you get an idea. So this is the bottom of the plant. And I'm gonna slowly pan up. Chodesh Tov.